Sup everyone, it is I, SPI, and welcome back to another episode of SPICast, the podcast where I talk about things, I guess. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about all things Students of Spinjitzu related. That's my Ninjago stop motion series that takes place 30 years after the show, so it's kind of a sequel series to the show for those of you that don't know. I'm going to start off the SPIcast news segment. Is that what it should be called now? The SPIcast news segment? Tell me down in the comments if this should get a name. I honestly don't know how many of these SPIcast episodes I'm going to do. They just kind of come and go whenever. So if you can think of a name for the channel news segment, please tell me down in the comments. But anyway, I'm going to start it off, all jokes aside, with some sad news. So in the last episode of SPIcast, I introduced and talked about a spin-off movie that I would be doing called SPI Does Stuff. And actually, while I was recording this episode, I was filming, well, not at the same time, but like on the same day, I was filming SPI Does Stuff around that same time period. But then I kind of came to realize some things, and they eventually led me to cancel the movie. SPI Does Stuff was going to be a follow-up of Mr. Narrator Does Stuff, but it was going to be focused on SPI, but not me, like the SPI of that universe, of that series. And so it was going to be following the SPI character as he's dealing with missing Mr. Narrator, and joining him in the movie would be Destiny Alter, and it would be a SPI and Destiny Alter led movie, and essentially the plot of the movie would have been basically SPI is dealing with this, but also Crazy returns and is trying to go after him, and all these bad things are happening, and through this Destiny Alter is trying to get SPI to give into him. He's trying to tempt SPI to want his help and to fall for his tricks, basically. And so the movie kind of resembled the story of Job in a way, but I'm not Job. Or I guess SPI in this universe isn't Job, and Destiny Alter is not Satan, but it's kind of a similar idea, and there were a lot of biblical aspects to it, which I really liked. I really would have liked to have seen it happen, but like there were some conflicts with the script and some things that didn't work. Like, for example, it with me as the main character, there's kind of this implication that like SPI is special or whatever, and that I don't want to glorify myself, I guess. It was different in Mr. Narrator Does Stuff because I wasn't the main character, or at least the version of myself, but in this I would be, and I didn't want it to be like, oh, I'm so great or whatever. And there were also some things that just wouldn't have worked out in live action. But the biggest reason why it didn't happen is because of lack of time. And not to say that I couldn't do it in that time frame, but basically filming it and editing it and everything, it would push some other videos away, and I really wanted to focus on some other things. So one of those things is Ninjago Hooded, which I'll get into soon. I'm going to get into a Hooded update soon, and some other YouTube things like doing more Christianity-focused content. And the biggest thing I would say is writing my book. Also college, that's another really big thing. Takes up probably most of my time, I'd say. I did a live stream at, I think, the end of 2018, or at least like halfway through December, and I basically talked about how 2019 would be different. And one of the main points that I hit on was that I wouldn't be uploading as much on here as I did in the previous year, because the previous year I was in high school, my senior year. It was kind of easier, and then there was the summertime, and I started off college, and I had a lot of videos that I had already filmed, and I was kind of getting those out there, but now I don't really have those, and I'm spending a lot more time on my book, and college is just, it's so important, and it's such a big thing that I need to be focusing on more, and so I don't have as much time for YouTube. I hate to say that, I hate to use it as a reason for not uploading, but it's really the truth, and that's really the big reason why I haven't been uploading that much. And so SPI Does Stuff was kind of just that thing where something had to be knocked off, and it was this, unfortunately. But some awesome things are going to be happening on this channel, like you're going to be seeing some more Christianity-focused content, and Hooded is coming, and this secret movie project, which I'm going to get into later. But I think for me, SPI Studios is I'm kind of taking a step back from it. I'm not quitting it, but it's becoming less of a priority in my life, which I guess could be a bit disappointing, but at the same time, when my book comes out, SPI Studios is going to enter a new phase. It's going to have content based off of the book, and it's just going to be really awesome when that happens. I'll also be really busy during the summertime. I'll be working, and I won't really have access to technology, because I'll be, hello, person, I'm recording a podcast. Say something, get in the podcast.
I'm sorry. I thought that was the TV.
No.
Okay, continue.
That was awesome. Okay, but I will basically be working at a camp over the summer, and so pretty much the only time that I will have off for YouTube, I guess, will be during June, and that's when I'll release the movie, but that'll pretty much be the only thing coming from May to August. So, I mean, it's kind of disappointing that throughout those 4 months there will only be one video, probably, maybe a few others. And now I'm going to talk about Ninjago Hooded, and then I'm going to give a very special announcement on what that Students of Spinjitzu follow-up coming in the summertime is going to be. So on July 13th of last year, I finished up Hooded Part 1, and Zach released it on his channel, and so since then, we've left you at a cliffhanger, and I apologize for that. Originally, the plan was that Mitchell was going to film all 3 parts of Hooded, but he's been more focused on his series, and I basically took over the project, hoping to build more mocks and do stuff that he usually doesn't do. So basically, I hope to use my experience in mock building, and I think I've gotten a lot better with animating stop motion than like the first episode of Students of Spinjitzu. I'll talk more about that in the main topic. So that was in, I think, November when I took over the project, and I was still working on Mr. Narrator Does Stuff and Students of Spinjitzu. So it was about January when I was going to start working on Hooded, and I put together a trailer for Hooded Part 2. But basically, the reason why it's been on hold is when I was starting to film it, I was actually working on the last 2 episodes of Students of Spinjitzu at the same time, and I didn't want to spend less time on those and more time on Hooded. I wanted to still put in so much effort in Students of Spinjitzu, and then also a lot of effort into Hooded, and not rush either of those. And so I asked you guys on Instagram, which would you like to see first? And more people voted for the last 2 episodes of Students of Spinjitzu Season 2, and they were really close too in the vote. But basically, as I was wrapping up episode 19, I think, of Students of Spinjitzu, I went back to college, and I got caught up in schoolwork, I guess, and I'm also writing for my book, which is coming out later in the year. A little promotion there. And I think this episode probably took the longest amount of time, I would say, maybe on a video ever. I don't mean for me to release it. I mean the amount of time put in actually being in iMovie, actually building the mocks, because I made so many mocks for this finale. It felt like a movie more than another episode, I guess. And so Hooded was kind of just on hold from that point. But now I'm back to it on Hooded Part 2 and Hooded Part 3, and I'm actually going to be filming them both back to back, so I don't have to tear down a mock and then rebuild it for Part 3. I can just use it for both. And then hopefully I'll be able to edit Part 2 at the end of March and beginning of April, and hopefully release it sometime in April. And Part 3 will come out shortly afterwards, because I won't have to film it. I'll just have to edit it. So that's the Hooded update in a nutshell. I guess the next bit of news is something that I'm going to go through really quickly. It's that you have been challenged and how-to videos are back. But they're not back in a big sense, like aren't going to be weekly episodes or anything like that. It's just that I have part of a You Have Been Challenged filmed. I'll explain why in the episode, why there's only part of it filmed. And I also have a how-to video, a Christian how-to video. So it's going to be interesting. It's skit style. It's pretty hilarious, but it's not in the same style as previous how-to videos, so don't get disappointed, I guess, if I'm not doing yard work. And the last bit of news is a big announcement. I'm going to be announcing my next project coming in the summer. I won't do a title reveal now, but I'll do a title reveal later. It's a Students of Spinjitzu movie. That's right, a Lego Ninjago Students of Spinjitzu movie. And it's focused on one character, and that's Smuggler. It's a Smuggler-focused Students of Spinjitzu movie. I could call it a spin-off, but the other characters are in it a lot, so it's not like it's only him. It's also the other characters too, but it's mainly focused on Smuggler. I feel like Smuggler was just kind of one of those characters where he got a good amount of time in the first season, but in the second season, really not too much, especially with the finale. He only had like 2 lines, so he was just kind of one of those characters that wasn't as developed, I guess, as the others. And this movie is probably some of my favorite, definitely some of my favorite character development for Smuggler. So that's coming out in the summertime. At some point, I'm going to release a trailer. It will probably be after Hooded Part 3, and there will be a title reveal in that trailer. There's a reason I'm not doing a title reveal. It will blow all your minds, I'm sure of it. Alright, and now let's get into the topic. And I got a lot of questions for this episode, so I'm really happy about that. Thank you, everyone, for all these questions. It's really awesome to know that you guys care enough to actually submit questions. And I will answer every single one of them. I'm not sure if I'll be able to get to every single one of them, but I'm going to try to. Okay, so Students of Spinjitzu was indeed an idea that I came up with a long time ago. I'm not going to talk too much about the history of Students of Spinjitzu, but basically there was a version of it all the way back in 2012 where I came up with the main characters, and I didn't come back to the idea until I think 2015 when Possession was going on, and in Possession they introduced the Realm Crystal. And that brings us to the first question. Know you. Oh, okay. That brings us to, that's literally the question. Know you ? Okay, second question. How did you think I ask people for questions on Instagram, and literally Mr. Cameraman is just like, know you ? Like, why, dude? Okay, next question. How did you think of the idea of the crystals and such? Okay, so that basically originated with the Realm Crystal. How there was the Realm Crystal, but then there were also other objects in the show, like, for example, the Sword of Souls, which has that crystal thing in it, which is the Soul Crystal in Students of Spinjitzu, and Master Chen's staff. And basically that thought of the possibility of there being other crystals led me to think that, hey, what if there were? And so that turned into, there are a certain amount of crystals in Ninjago, and if you combine them, like for example combining the golden weapons or other objects in Ninjago, they'll create like this catastrophic event. And at the time there were only 6, 5 of which were the 5 from Season 1. The only one that wasn't in Season 1, that was the 6th one, was the Time Crystal, because like that's super powerful, so I kind of had to put it in at the end. And then I did some research and I found out that I think 14 different colors exist for that crystal piece in Lego. So I thought of the idea, what if, because there are 16 realms, there's 16 crystals? And so 2 of them I had to reuse, which were the lime green crystal and the orange crystal. But other than that, yeah, boom, 16 different colored crystals. Well, 14 besides those 2. But one of them, the combination crystal, the brown crystal, I think maybe the rarest Lego piece ever, because I tried finding it. Bricklink says it exists, and there's a picture of it, but I can't find it, so I just use a picture of it in the episode and put it in. I'm sorry that there wasn't one. It it would probably cost $1 million if I found it. But because it didn't exist as a Lego piece, I was like, wait, what if this is the crystal that's in Mr. Narrator Does Stuff? And boom. And so, boom, it became that one. All right, I spent a lot of time on that question, so I'm going to have to speed this up because there are a lot of questions. Okay, how did you write the episodes and how long does it take to animate/edit them? So I wrote them using a keyboard of a laptop. No, I'm just kidding. Basically, I kind of got a lot of my experience from doing Ninjago Villainy, and I think if I didn't do Ninjago Villainy, I might not actually be doing Students of Spinjitzu, because I talked about doing Students of Spinjitzu not last summer, 2 summers ago, on my SPI Ninjago channel, and that was before Villainy, but I didn't do it, and there really wasn't a reason for me not doing it. I just kind of didn't do it because I didn't really have the experience, I guess, and so I didn't really know what I was doing. And then I collaborated with Mitchell on Villainy, and so I got experience editing a stop motion. How do I write the episodes? Basically type them out in a document. My goal is 3.5 pages, like 3 full pages and a half page, and then I kind of write them out in play format, so it's not like I'm writing a book. How long does it take to animate/edit them? Animation, it can take days. I think the finale took the longest because it took, man, so many days. Like literally days on end for some episodes, like 2 days on end or something. But the finale took like a couple weeks maybe. It felt like that. And then editing for the finale took 3 weeks, not on end because I had class and stuff, but during my free time. So to answer your question, I don't know the exact amount of time. I would say for some episodes it can take, I would say around 8 to 10 hours usually for editing, with the exception of the finale, which took probably like double that, maybe even. And this isn't at one time. It really depends on the episode, because some episodes I have to add in like much more voices and like green screen effects too, and lighting touch-ups and stuff like that. If you want to make quick YouTube videos, stop motion is not for you. If you're patient while making YouTube videos, like I try to be, then I would recommend stop motion, I guess, because sometimes it can be stressful and hard, but it can also be pretty enjoyable. What's your favorite episode out of this entire series, and what's your favorite episode out of each season? I think my favorite episode out of the first season is Convergences. In this episode, a lot of stuff happens. First of all, Shadow Lord teams up with the new Serpentine in this episode. This is also the episode where the students of Spinjitzu learn Spinjitzu, and so they get their name, basically. And then they do the Tornado of Creation. Oh yeah, and the Ultra Golden Weapons are turned into the Ultra Weapon. So a lot of stuff happens in this episode. I don't think I did any. I did one Spinjitzu effect in Emergence, I think. So this is kind of the episode where I learned how to do the Spinjitzu effect. And so this episode really stood out to me. And in season 2, oh man, I'd have to go with the finale. I just spent so much time on it, and I'm so happy with it that I don't think I could pick a different episode. And as far as story goes, I think it's still my favorite episode out of season 2 and the whole series. So I'm going to have to go with the season 2 finale for whole series and season 2. But that's just my opinion. Leave your thoughts down in the comments, guys. What is your favorite episode out of the whole series? Next question. How did you come up with the idea of Destiny Altar? So actually, when I was in the process of coming up with all the ideas for Students of Spinjitzu, I had like so many seasons planned. Like, for example, Sharp Scythe and Metal Eye were supposed to be the villains of their own season, and Hammerhead was supposed to be the villain of his own season. And one of the later seasons was starring the Scarlet Gang, but as I was going through with the idea, I felt like, I guess, they weren't enough, basically. Like, they were good villains, but to an extent, and so the season needed a little bit more. So I came up with the idea of another villain who was pretty deceptive, and he was kind of interfering with everything. and that was basically Destiny Alter. The ninja would go to the Cloud Kingdom and meet Destiny Alter, and he's like manipulating Destiny and everything. And I think the season would have ended with the ninja all fighting Destiny Alter in this big arena, and he would show off his like true evil form or something. But in this, I decided to go with a more comedic route. Okay, the next question is also Destiny Alter related, and a lot of these upcoming questions are talking about the future, so let's go. What role will Destiny Alter have from now on? I guess what I can tell you is that I think Destiny Alter is going to kind of have less of a role, but he will have some influence over the characters and the story and stuff, and he'll have a part in it, but it's not like he's going to be the main villain of the summer movie or season 3. That's the next question. Season 3 question mark question mark question mark. Yes, there will be a season 3 to answer your question. I just don't have a date. I don't know when it's coming because, well, I'm going to be busy over the summer and then I'm going to be going back to college after that. So maybe late 2019, I think. But there will be a season 3. I have it all written out. So Destiny Alter won't have that big of a role in the movie. The movie will kind of start out with, it'll take place a few months after the Great Alteration. And in the meantime, the ninja have been basically dealing with Destiny Alter or something that he does. And so it's kind of how it's going to start out. But it'll be mostly focused on the main conflict of the movie and the main villain and the villains of that movie, which that's getting into my next question. Will I use the Scarlet Gang again? And the answer is yes. The main villain faction of the summer movie will be the Scarlet Gang. Basically, the end credit scene in the season 2 finale is getting right into this movie. So the Scarlet Gang is going to be the villain faction, and the main antagonist is going to be this guy called Scoundrel. And that's who Scarlet Slayer is looking for in that end credit scene. I'm not going to tell you who Scoundrel is, but when the trailer comes out, you're going to know, and I think you're going to be surprised. What is the next story of your next season or movie? Okay, I'm not going to tell probably anything about season 3 until the trailer. There's also another question called what will season 3 be like? I'm sorry, I won't answer it. I will talk about the episode format. I'll get into that in a minute. But for both of these questions, I won't talk about the story of season 3. That's going to be something that will be revealed when I get closer to it. But for the movie, it is a story focused on Smuggler, and the main villain faction is the Scarlet Gang teaming up with the main antagonist, Scoundrel, and I don't know if I want to reveal any more. Just be looking for the trailer coming like in May, probably. May or June is when the trailer is coming. I'm sorry that I have to make you guys wait that long and that I'm not going to reveal much about season 3. But the reason I'm not revealing anything is because it's going to be much more awesome when it happens. Alright, so what will season 3 be like? So as I said, I'm not going to talk about the story because I want to wait closer to when it's going to be released. But what I will say is that the format of season 3 will be different. And the reason for that is because I'm in college and it's been hard to spend a lot of time on these episodes and on these seasons now. And so I want to, I guess, just have a shorter season but still have a complete story. And so this time is only going to have 5 episodes of the regular length of time and then 2 movie-like episodes. So they're both about 15 minutes. But the first one's a part 1 and the second one's a part 2. So 7 episodes in total, but the last 2 are bigger and they're part 1 and part 2. I'm really liking this season so far. It's going to be a long time till it comes out, but I think it'll come out eventually, and it's a pretty awesome idea. I guess to close off this podcast, I just want to thank all of you for all of your support on this. Students of Spinjitzu has literally been the biggest series on any of my channels that I've had on YouTube. And the season 2 finale, I'm pretty sure, broke a record for SPI Studios. When I was making the first episode, I didn't expect that it would go this far. I really hope that I can make a good first season, but we did it. Season 2 has been finished. We're moving on to a movie, and then a third season, most likely, probably, hopefully. So, thank you everyone. It's been awesome. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll have auditions open for the movie or season 3 because there aren't that many new characters, but thank you also to everybody who's voiced. I guess to end off, I'm just going to give a breakdown of what's happening in the Students of Spinjitzu universe. So, coming up next in April, we have Hooded Part 2 and probably Hooded Part 3 as well, hopefully. And then over the summer, the Students of Spinjitzu movie. And then later on, Season 3 of Students of Spinjitzu.